So your club instructor couldn't grade you at that time. That the Mr. Smith or Mr. Jones.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
So I guess you say that you saw the first demos and that you kind of sought Aikido out. Is there anything that sticks out in your mind why you went back?
Yeah, the ukemi, the fact of falling over and being able to get up again, that was that's what really intrigued me, sort of thing. Because most martial arts, once you go to the floor, you know, it's more or less over for you. So being able to recover and get back in there, that's what drew me to the art, sort of thing.
Wow, that tends to be one of the things that puts people off, doesn't it? But if it's quite interesting, that made you interested.
Yeah.
Wow. So what about nowadays? Can you tell us about now and where you're practicing and how often and teaching?
Mm-hmm. After several moves the dojo, we're now situated at Perry Bar in Birmingham, Doug Ellis Centre. Train 2 nights a week, Tuesdays and Fridays. And we're a steady number club. Got 2 fourth dans and a knee dan, apart from myself.
Yep.
And we do get passing visitors like Adam and Sean and
from nearby clubs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think to be quite honest, I think is it my style or the way we practice is a bit can I put it?
Martial?
It's not for the faint-hearted.
Okay.
It's not for the faint-hearted.
I don't know. It's quite difficult saying that, though, isn't it? Because you say that, but then again, you know, it's in the time I've known you, I've never seen anyone, you know, get injured or get into trouble. You know, so I guess it's more a case of you like kind of taking people to their limit they probably didn't know they had, kind of thing, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
In Eddie's defence, let's call it old school.
So you mentioned Alvin Joseph earlier, and can you tell us, so who else do you think have been main influences on your Aikido?
Well, when I first Japanese I saw was Kinesuke Sensei. It was 5th dan at the time. Saw him at West Heath. And then about a year later, I saw Chiba Sensei, Shibata Sensei, Kinesuke Sensei in Dudley. It was quite near for me to travel and visit. One of the first national courses I ever went on, really. And it was a big thing at the time to get on the mat with Chiba Sensei. So in those days, the influence was those people, sort of thing.
Right. And have you got anything you can share with us? Any exciting stories? Everybody always loves a good story. That's quite a vague question about, you know, things that you got up to during those times or gradings.
I think one of the most times I remember is when I took my knee down. And to be quite honest, I trained really hard for preparation for that grade. I was running and all sorts, you know. I was really fit at the time. And just taking it under Chiba Sensei, you was expected to be out there at least an hour. So, but throughout the grading, I was, dispatching the ukis left, right, and centre, coming out there, you know. And I thought I was doing a great job, but looking from a distance, it didn't look very pretty. So there was a bit of a hoo-ha about whether or not I passed or failed.
Yeah.
So it's like a lesson learned for my next grade to have some, you know, show different sides of my Aikido, rather than just showing the very practical, or not practical, but the more destructive side of it, sort of thing.
Do you think that's important through the dan grades? Do you think people have got to show those different angles?
Yeah, I think throughout the grading, I think you have to show you different moods. You got to be flowing. You got to show control. You got to, you know, you can't be just the one dimension.
Yeah.
So that was like I had to pay Mr. Smith a visit to have a little talking to. So
yeah,
it's put me on track.
so I guess kind of switching it a little bit then, and going a little bit away from scripts. And again, anyone who've got any questions, chip in at any point. But do you have any advice for people that are doing Dan gradings then, especially because I'm sure that's always interest based on your experience of doing the gradings and obviously the number of gradings you've seen. Do you have any advice for people preparing and doing gradings, what they should think about?
Yeah, basically, they should know that, in my opinion, you should know that the syllabus like the back of your hand, really. I mean, as soon as the examiner shouts the attack, you should really expect a series of techniques from that particular attack. You know, you shouldn't be like be thinking, and wait. You know, you should be already in your mind. You know what he's going to be basically asking you for, in a sense. I think if you really study your syllabus, a grading, in my opinion, should be like, you should treat it as a demonstration of your ability, and don't let the occasion overwhelm you, sort of thing. So I feel. I mean, my fourth Dan, I think that's the time I felt I really was getting the hang of these gradings, because I was really confident in what I was doing, what I was asked for, you know. And Kath and I, Guy, we all took it at the same time, didn't we? And we
to be honest, that particular year, 1999, was a particularly special year because Eddie and myself and Kath, we all came up at the same time, and we all took a yarn dance at the same time, and each of us had to demonstrate something particular to our instructor. And it was, you know, obviously Eddie with Mr. Jones, myself with Mr. Smith, and Kath with Mr. Brady. And we all, each of us did our own Aikido. Then we did something particular to our instructor, and it was, and we didn't realize at the time, but actually it was a really special moment, because there's not many times when individuals who practice together for a long time go through the grades together and reach fourth Dan together and take their grades together. And really, I think, really important and really special for us three altogether.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I guess you don't see too many peer groups and groups of people move all the way through Aikido together, do you really?
No.
So with that in mind, Eddie, I guess bringing it back more to the kind of current, are there any instructors today that you look at and you admire or you pay any close attention to? Are there any in particular that stand out for you?
Yeah. Whenever we have summer school, I always treat it, or winter school, I always look at each instructor with a fresh pair of eyes, and, you know, in detail, try and watch in detail what they're actually doing, and you know, and, you know, steal from them if I can, and, you know, the way they present things, and, you know, I look at it differently sometimes and say, well, I did it this way, but he does it that way, so that may be another way of doing it. But present ones, you know, I like, what's that gentleman's name with 2022? What's his name?
Oh, are we announcing that yet? Are we going to announce that one, or are we going to hold that one?
What's his name?
Our guest instructor that we've got.
Sensei. Shirakawa Sensei.
Yeah, Shirakawa Sensei. I do like him. A very explosive sort of Aikido. I like, sort of thing. When I went to Hombu Dojo, I like Fujimaki Sensei. You know, I do like some of the up and coming. I like Ino Sensei. When I saw him in February, a lot of the things he did was very relevant to what we're doing, and some of the things he showed we tend to have neglected a bit. So yeah. So
I guess,
of course, Shiba Sensei and Shibata Sensei was always big influence on what we did, you know.
Yeah. Okay. So and on that, have you been to Japan very often? Have you seen the instructors over there? Is that something you've done on a regular basis?
Oh, yeah, I've been 2007, 2009. It was an experience without a doubt. I was prepared before I went. I knew I heard about the mats, so I was prepared myself. The mats, I soaked my feet in some treatment on my feet to harden the skin a bit. That's something that you suffer when you get there. All the mat burns, etc.
Yeah.
But it was. I didn't find the training much more difficult than what we actually doing. I felt the Doshu's class was continuous, and this is the thing I like doing, non-stop. He demonstrates 4 times, and you're back in there again. 4 times, back in there again. And I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's quite.
If you're stuck with someone who can really motor, then you. So yeah, I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's quite interesting you mentioned that. It's quite a different practice, isn't it? The fact that they just keep it going and going for an hour, and there's no pause as well. You have a short discussion about a technique, and it is quite an interesting way to practice. Probably the best thing that I think we could do for grading preparation or anyone that wanted to go and visit.
Yeah.
So kind of on this topic then, another kind of question that's come up once or twice in the past is, as you're still learning and looking at these instructors, is there anything that you feel that you're looking at now, or you've recently learned or improved upon?
Yeah, over the years we learned the ukemi a certain way. The old, going putting your feet over your shoulder, over your neck, back with ukemi. So we've had to change our ukemi over the years to the current what they're doing now. So it's it's constantly improving ourselves. So myself and Guy, Kath, we've had to modify what we've been doing. So yeah, unless you're prepared to do that, I think you get left behind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's quite an interesting question, isn't it, or interesting point, because I don't know. I've heard it sometimes from some of my lot, and I can see some of them on this call now. So I'm worried I'm going to get some stick. That you teach something one way, and then a couple of years later, after you've been influenced by other teachers, you teach the same thing, but a slightly different way, and then you get asked questions about why you're changing the way you teach things. But I guess it's that constant updating your knowledge, if you know what I mean.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, if one used to say Chiba Sensei visit summer school, the 1 year he's doing weapon work, doing it this way, and the following year it's changed. So you're having to keep updating yourself, and so when I see winter school, we did the last Sunday spent the last class, I think, did ukemis, and I thought, whoa, this isn't far off what I do, sort of thing. I was quite pleased with, sort of thing. Yeah.
Wow. So you kind of mentioned the W word there, which I think we're going to get around to, and maybe I'll just, before I go down this track, I'll go quiet, see if anyone else has got any questions on what we've discussed so far. They're all a bit shy. We need to say something controversial, I think, in a minute. So, so the big topic we had across the top of this discussion, Eddie, was weapons. So maybe we could start by, I could maybe ask your opinion on the value of weapons. Do you think it brings something extra to Aikido and to the practice?
Well, to be quite honest, I think it's always been part of Aikido. I don't know why over the years we've separated it and make it something new that we have to try and learn. It's when I started, it was you expected to do weapons, part of the class. If the class was 2 hours, you would do the percentage of that hour, of that 2 hours, weapon work, irrespective of what you felt about it. I mean, now as over the years, as instructors, we're giving students the opportunity to say, well, I want to do or don't want to do. Whereas in them days, it was just taught. You were just taught the syllabus, and it was just done. So, I don't really have a discussion with my students whether you want to do weapons or not. It's done, and it's part and parcel of the art, and you got to take on board what it is. I don't see a separation. This is the problem I think we're coming across. It's if you make showman with your boken, and then if you take somebody takes the boken out of your hands, your hands are in the center of your body, and that's how your posture is. Yeah. And so I don't see, that's just a basic example, but so I don't see why there's a separation with the body art and the weapon work. I think should be taught as one. You know.
But if you're practicing more weapon work, what do you think it adds to your Aikido? And I'm so sorry, maybe I'm sounding like I'm separating them off. But what do you think it adds to your kind of general, taijutsu?
It gives you a point of reference. For instance, you'll be able to identify the center line where you should be, the live side, dead side. Yeah, aligns your posture, and also, it gives you flexibility within your movements. But it conditions your body as well. You're doing certain movements. It's conditioning in your body. As not everything you do is technique. You do a lot of exercise. It was a conditioning, which prepares you for the body art. So your weapon work should be in your body art as you move. You move like you're moving with a weapon. You're not move. So. When you got the sword in your hand, the bulk in your hand, you put the bulk down, your hands become like the weapon, in my opinion. You got the tegatani, your hand blade, everything. So it's important for you to acknowledge that, because we do a lot of on the gradings. We do tachidori, sword taking, and we do jotori and tantadori, knife taking. But I can't see how you can really be doing that if you don't know how to handle the bulk and the joke properly. I don't see how you can really, really proficiently take someone's weapon off.
Yeah.
Because you don't know, your body alignment wouldn't be right.
Yeah.
Everything, So that's how I feel. So you've got to be able to handle the weapon efficiently to a level before you can talk about taking it off someone. Because that's the ultimate you aim for, is to disarm someone with a weapon. And so I can't see how you can do that if you don't know how to use it.
Yeah.
Maybe people agree or disagree, I don't know. Kath?
Sorry, just unmuting. Yeah, I do agree. And I think that gives you the clarity of movement and and you said, Eddie, an understanding of the line that I think somehow understanding of weapon work makes it clear where the line is, where you should be, where you shouldn't be. It's, if nothing else, it's a teaching tool to show you that line amongst all the other things that Eddie's also said, and I think it's absolutely valuable.
Just to build on what Catherine and what Eddie has said, my particular Aikido journey started with Ralph Reynolds, and one of the things that was quite interesting was that we had to be at least 2 grades below our Aikido grade with our weapons grade, and you could argue it should be the other way around, because the Aikido is created from the need to deal with weapons from an empty hand perspective, and deal with that particular situation, and create a technique from it. And everything we do, and everything that Eddie talks about, and what Kathy's alluded to, is based upon the individual being empty-handed again, or sometimes with a weapon, dealing with an assailant who has a weapon. And it's interesting that everything we do is based upon cutting the center and moving ourselves away from the central attack, which is what a weapon would be. And for me, from my perspective, this shows the absolute link between Aikido as an empty hand or a non-weapon based martial art to those martial arts that do have a weapon based system at their core.
I was also quite interested on something you just said a second ago there, Eddie, how it kind of feels like the weapon work isn't as front and center as it used to be. Do you think there's any reason for that? Oh, have we lost Eddie?
Looks like he's dropped off, Mark.
I can see, yeah, it's frozen.
It's very weird tonight, Mark.
It's not me.
I've got on the phone. And
Yeah,
I can't get on the iPad at all.
I blame Zoom myself. Okay, let me...
It's the weather, isn't it?
Oh, hello, Martin.
Hello, Sue.
Okay,
Twice a week, that's something.
Okay, if everyone can just get ready with your questions.
Based upon a discussion, Mark, rephrase your question, and I guess that most people within the audience will offer an explanation.
Yeah, well, there's one person that looks like he's trying to come back in. I'm looking for him. Here we go.
Oh, there he is.
There we go. You're back. Hi, Eddie. Just connecting the audio.
Thank goodness we got a tech on the case.
Yay!
Yeah,
hey, you're back. Hiya. Can you hear us okay, Eddie?
You've cloned him, Mark.
Yeah, thank you very much. It wasn't
Try
deliberate.
turning it on and off again.
Let's not do that. We'll lose everybody. Can you hear us, Eddie?
Yeah, I can hear you.
We're throwing it at
I can hear you now, yeah.
Oh, great stuff. So yeah, just before we lost you there, and everyone was just preparing a whole bunch of questions there while we had a short interlude. The question I was asking you there is, you kind of mentioned that weapons doesn't seem as prevalent anymore in the training. Do you have any thoughts why that might be?
Say it again.
Do you have any thoughts why weapons isn't as prevalent in training as it used to be?
Because over the years, as I said, the previous instructors, they just used to just teach it, but the new instructors coming through, they don't seem to embrace it as much. So that is a problem, because everything seems to be revolved around the body art. So I don't know. I'm not blaming them, but I would like them to see, make a change.
Yeah. It's tricky though, isn't it? I guess it's it's kind of some of the conversations we've had that it's kind of making that big step change from people from where they are to doing something new and different is always quite challenging, especially in front of your students.
I suppose a lot of the problem is Hombu not doing weapons. Yeah.
But the way I see it, although we follow Hombu, they got classes on every day, whereas we've got to condense our teaching. I think so it becomes, the student will come twice a week, some will only come once a week, so you have to try and condense it. I mean, they all say they don't do weapons, but when they pick a weapon up, they don't look too bad with it, do they? So so I think instructors got to condense their teaching in order to build it back up again.
But what we've found with the lockdown and doing Zoom classes, it's ideal doing weapons because we can do them on our own, and we're spending at least half of Saturday mornings doing weapons and really going back to basics and really concentrating on weapons.
Yeah. I think nowadays the classes are designed they've designed the classes. They think if it's just body art, that's all people require. But maybe if they try to introduce the weapon a bit more, that you can find that the students will pick it up and thinking that's just as important. So I, in a way, I am blaming the instructors for not pushing it. Because it's your job to pass it down the line. I mean, in my dojo, I do weapon at least 30 minutes every session, and then I move on. Don't get me wrong; it's not easy, but you gotta allocate the time in order for you to build the level of competency up. People are not proficient in what they're doing, or they're not confident enough to want to do it. I don't know why. You know. So.
Well, is that a hand up there, Rebecca?
Yeah. Do you think that's the waning of Chiba influence? Because obviously the weapons came into British Aikido with Chiba Sensei. I mean, Ralph Reynolds and co also use weapons, and Iwama also use weapons. But you know, where we're standing, the big influence for weapons was Chiba Sensei, and when the UKA sort of realigned itself from Chiba to Hombu, which as Sue said, you know, Hombu, you just don't do weapons. Do you think that's part of it, or is that just coincidental?
Yeah. I think you're right. You're right there, Rebecca. I think you're right there. Our main one time Chiba Sensei was our influence in a big way, and then you're right what you're saying about following Hombu Dojo, but you know, I think in a way we do follow Hombu Dojo. We're following Hombu Dojo's teachings, but we got to equip our students as well. It's our job to equip them. I'm sure some of these people in Hombu Dojo, they do weapon work, because why have they got them on the wall? You know, so, you know, I think the instructors for the UKA should pass it down, and you know, even if they start all over again, they'll have to make it their job to pass it down the line. Because what's the next generation going to be like? You know, that's how I see it.
Yeah. Just to emphasise what Eddie's been saying, that for some time we've understood that although Hombu don't, shall we say, actively teach weapons, there's an undercurrent of weapons being taught by their instructors. So it's important to understand that what isn't particularly visible should be considered as being just the start. And that which is invisible is the rest of what's being taught as well.
Yeah. Can I just say something, Mark?
Of course. Yeah.
Taking up Guy's and Eddie's last point, it strikes me if that's the case, then we're at a bit of a crossroads, isn't it? Because certainly I remember when I started, you know, and you go up to Renshinkan, Mrs. Smith, you know, invariably there'd be some weapons. You had Mike, you know, Pete, there'd always be, you know, there would be a lot of people, obviously with the experience and the willingness to teach it. Well, if, as Eddie was saying, there isn't another generation who are picking up that skill and experience, then we're really in danger of losing that, you know, that resource, aren't we? Unless we find some way of structurally building that in so that current high grades, you know, can either expand their knowledge or find a way of passing it on.
Yeah. And then there's the other question that Martin, I think something I discussed with Eddie recently is, you know, why start with the high grades if there's demand for it and it improves people's Aikido? Why not bring it in sooner, if you know what I mean, rather than trying to do a top-down approach?
Yeah, no, I mean, because you used to get it quite early on, but because you had senior people who were confident to instruct. If they're not confident, if there aren't people who are confident to instruct now, then we've got to find a way of doing it.
Yeah. But the new people really enjoy weapons.
But Mr. Brady was trying to do that, and he was getting frustrated because he was running weapons classes at summer school, and we were getting quite a good attendance. I mean, inevitably it dwindled during the course of the week, but people weren't then going back to their home dojo and doing it in the home dojo. And you know, that's my personal experience, and it's something I repeatedly said to Mr. Brady, is that you learn something, you learn some weapons that kata that you've never seen before on a course, and then you don't see it again for 5 years. By which time, you've completely forgotten it, because the next time you do weapons at a course, it'll be a different kata that you've not seen before. And so if we do, say, every course we do one kata, but every time it's a different kata, every time you meet it, you've forgotten it again. I mean, that's very personal to me, but it seemed to be the experience of other people there as well. And I would you know, I was keeping on at Peter, like, you know, can't we just have a very limited number of kata that we, or, you know, that we do repeatedly so that we can get good? Because I would rather be good at 3 things than have trained in 20 different kata, none of which I can remember. Sorry, that should be a question to Eddie. Would you like to respond to that, Eddie?
Yeah, well, at the moment, I'm trying to work on what you're suggesting there, Rebecca.
Right.
The certain things that we need to do, whether it's 13 can katas, whatever, 9 can kata, 31 can, and put it together to present it for everyone to agree to it, to say, well, yeah, this is what we should focus on, and then build on that. Yeah. So what you're suggesting is, because people are saying there's so much to learn, it's too much. We should, you know, we got to identify what we need to help us to develop. So that's what I'm working on, to put it to the committee. Well, hopefully that they will agree to it and say, yeah, this is what we could present to the instructors, and this is what we're going to work on. You know, so that's one of my objectives, and hopefully, you know, it should help to everyone to be, as you're suggesting, Rebecca, that everyone is now doing the same thing in a way for a while. We can progress together. That makes sense?
If we put it in the gradings, then people will have to do it. I mean, that's the simple one. If you really want, if you've got a short list of things that everybody should know, if you put them into the gradings, then the instructors will have to step up and teach them.
Yeah, I'm glad someone else has said that, Rebecca. I'm glad someone else has said that.
I thought that was really interesting, Rebecca. I must admit, I've never even considered that before. The fact that you go to a course and learn so much and then go back to your club, and if it's not fully supported end to end, you're learning and reminding of some of those forms, then yeah, you're not even going to remember it until next time it comes around again, are you? So I guess it's that end-to-end support for learning.
Yeah. I mean, I can remember a summer school where Chiba Sensei had Tenica Sells and Chris Mooney up, and was throwing at them the various different, there's 36 different movements from ski, Yokomanuchi, and Shomanuchi in terms of defenses, and they were saying, he was saying, what's number 4 from Shomanuchi, what's number 3 from ski, what's number 7 from Shoman, etc., just to see if they got if they got it sorted out. And it was important because it was showing how they were understanding not just the weapon-based technique, but it was immaterial of its location within a certain group of techniques, i.e. a number. And for me, that particular summer school was indicative, showed me that it wasn't about knowing this, that, or the other in a specific, genre of, or should we say, order of techniques. It was about understanding that it didn't matter where it was what it was. And this is the same thing. In terms of weapons, it's the same thing. Whatever happens in weapons happens in the way it should happen, not in the way we think it should happen. And that's the same with Aikido. So weapons and Aikido, in that respective, are linked together, totally. Because Aikido happens in a way which is, linked in a structured way while we're training, while we're teaching and training in a dojo. When it happens in a completely unexpected, random way, it happens how it should be, in whatever way it should be. That's the same with weapons. And so weapons and Aikido are linked in an inextricable way, which is showing that randomness born from structure creates the correct reaction.
It's funny, guy. Just something you said there as well about 36 different moves from one attack. I'd kind of bring it back to a question for yourself, Eddie. I think from what you've said there, and Rebecca and Guy have both said, I think personally, and maybe I'm putting my own spin on this, it's a daunting start to go, hang on a minute, I need to get my head around this weapons world. There's lots of 9s, 13s, 26s, 31s I need to learn. Where do I start? I think, it's going to be at least a month before people are back on the mat now. So could we use this opportunity? Is there anything you think that if somebody was starting and thinking, no, I'm going to listen to what Eddie said and I'm going to do something, where should you start?
Well, I would start off with the seven Saburis after being taught how to hold the Balkan, etc., etc. Basically, you would show them the 5 postures: Shudan, Jodan, Aso, Wakigamai, Gaidan, Kamai. Those are postures in the sword, and they just practice those. What they are. Then you go into the 7 Saburis, which is Saito's movements that he taught. That's international. That is. Saito sent his weapon work. Yeah. Then you go Shirogari, Shiro 4 direction, Apogari, 8 direction, and after a while, then you will introduce them to Chiba Sensei's 8 Saburi.
Yeah.
Which incorporates a lot of your Tai Sabaki movements, your Shiro Tenkan, back foot Urumi Tenkan, Titan, all those movements, all incorporated in Chiba Sensei's 8 Saburi.
So they're all solo exercises that you just
solo
mentioned.
Exercises. Yeah.
So maybe what we could do then, Eddie, maybe tomorrow is kind of list those and put them on the UKA Facebook page or in this event, and maybe say, hey, these are the things that maybe people should be focused on in order for the next month or two, or especially if you want to do some practice themselves.
Yeah. Solo exercises is not just doing them. I've learned number 1, I've learned number 2, but looking at them in more in depth of why you're moving like this way, why you're turning your body this way, why you're cutting this way. Not just I know number 1, I know number 2, and we slapdash way of practicing. You got to know cutting when you do number 1, number 8, and from Chiba's 8 Saburi. Number 1 is your Shiro Tenkan, so you're cutting forward, you're stepping back with your back foot, stepping back and aligning your posture. Also all these things. If the student's learning all these things, instructors is only going to be tapping him in the right direction every so often. Examining what he's doing, because these are exercises that they can do in their own time. And you haven't got to do it with a Balkan if you live in a flat, like I did. You got to can use a tanto.
Be careful in the conservatory as well, I guess, with the classrooms.
Yeah. So that's what I would say with the Balkan. Pardon? What was that, Rebecca?
Sorry, I was lurching back because we've been talking about gradings, and I said if you want to put pressure on people to learn weapons, the way to do it would be to incorporate it into the gradings. And then I remembered something I referred to earlier, that the Aikido Fellowship, Ralph Reynolds' lot, actually runs separate weapons grades.
Yeah.
So if the UKA as an organisation did want to consider incorporating weapons as part of the grading structure, that would be one possibility. So I just thought I would flag that up in case that idea is useful.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks very much. Yeah.
I didn't want to distract you, Eddie. I'm sorry.
No, you're right. Yeah.
It's the problem with the time lag on the Zoom. You don't think you're interrupting, and then you have to.
It's
does anybody agree? Does anybody disagree what I've said? What I've suggested?
I think I think I agree with Rebecca in some way, and I agree with what Ralph Reynolds did in some way, although I don't feel that the time in which I was exposed to it, I understood what was going on. But in essence, the ability to keep the understanding of weapons in balance with the understanding of the Aikido is a very important condition. When you start to understand that Aikido was born from weapons, unless you understand that and start to work with it on a fundamental basis, that means that your weapon work augments your Aikido work, and that your Aikido work augments your weapon work, you won't understand it. You just think that one is one and the other is the other. So from my perspective, it's important to understand there must be a certain level of creating a certain condition of understanding within one particular art of Aikido, let's call it weapons, and how it augments the other side of Aikido, let's call it the empty hand or body art of Aikido as well.
Well, that's what I remember so much about what Mr. Smith taught when he was doing Ikkyo and saying how this is how Ikkyo was born, was somebody taking your wrist when you're about to cut them. And that just made it so clear because it gave you a complete focus for why you were doing the technique and how you were doing it, rather than somebody just wandering up and grabbing your wrist. They were stopping you cutting them. So it all made complete sense when he explained it that way.
It was very well integrated in that. I mean, I started in 2000, and you used to get those sessions if you went to courses or you went up to Sunday and Renshin Kan. And then it's where it gets translated. I think Rebecca's right, and whether you get that translated back to your dojo in any structured way. And then also add in the fact that people who go to courses are a subset of a bunch of people who might just go to their ordinary dojo once a week. You know, so there you've got to work out those sort of gradations. But unless it's integrated, no one's going to get the same, you know, level of understanding, because, as I say, you might just be exposed to it one thing, and that's only going to be maybe half of your, maybe less than half of your home dojo will go.
Yeah. That's again a really good point. I like that, Martin. So, you know, again, if a small amount of your dojo go to a course and learn it, then again, there needs to be a wider way of tackling it, isn't there?
And there certainly needs to be a structured way of making sure that that integration that Sue said, which was coming down from people like Mr. Smith and Gordon and Peter, finds a way of getting down to the dojos individually through the individual instructors, so that you get some sort of homogeneity across people's experience and knowledge. Because we certainly used to do the 9 and the 13 quite regularly, didn't we, on some Renshin Kan courses and stuff.
Yeah, that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
I'm really conscious of time. I'm also convinced Rebecca saw my notes, because I think she asked the next 2 or 3 questions I had lined up. So great minds think alike. It must be that. So I'll go quiet now for a second and see if anyone else has got any questions.
Kath.
It wasn't a question, but it was just, I suppose, I mean, I remember so clearly when I was training very regularly with Eddie, like every week, I mean, and the fact you just can't beat doing some of it in every class. So I would see some Eddie students, you know, 5th Q, 4th Q, 3rd Q, who knew weapon work and who had a familiarity and a fluency with it that I could name any number of downgrades that just don't. And that's simply because Eddie was doing exactly what he's saying here, but I'm just, I guess, saying that is what he was doing it every week. And it would be the same, you know, if I decided if I was teaching, and as you all know, I don't have a dojo, but if I decided that I didn't like Ikkyo, I'm not going to teach Ikkyo. So I can't then expect my students to occasionally go on a course, see somebody do Ikkyo and think, oh, this is a new technique. And it's the same with weapons. It's really no different, I don't think. I guess I kind of think that we're starting in a position now where we've had a long time without consistently teaching weapons, or almost teaching it as an integral part of the syllabus. And that means it's kind of a bit of a catch-up, and it almost means we need to go back probably to basics and say it's okay to be 3rd dan, 4th dan, 5th dan, and not be quite sure even how you hold the sword, not feel that you are, you know, as familiar as you'd like to be, and just accept that, but do something about it, and that's simply by practice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, without a doubt.
It's important to note that what both Kath and Eddie have said is important. There's no shame involved with not understanding what others know. I can remember Mr. Smith saying that, Mr. Jones and Mr. Smith and the whole of the wrenching can group of students understand more than what Mr. Burrows knew and his students knew in totality. Now, that's not saying Mr. Burrows at the time was teaching things wrong, but the emphasis was a different thing. And as a result of that, the way in which we progressed was different, because we understood a little bit more about the heritage of Aikido and how it related to the martial side, weapons side of existing and working with somebody else, versus we just doing it. And as a result of that, we tended to understand it a little bit more, and the Aikido and the weapons became more, shall we say, meaningful as a result of that.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing that comes out of this that I think you touched on earlier, didn't you, Eddie? That it's that alignment, so that you're not doing weapons and you're not doing Aikido practice, that you've got to make sure that you're doing the same thing over and over again. And I'm really conscious of the time. We kind of said we'd knock it on the head at 9 o'clock, so I'm kind of going to add the last point over to Eddie to see if you got anything else you want to share other than do weapons, do weapons, do weapons.
It's a simple message.
Well, basically, now is the time that we need to do it, don't we? So, without a doubt, we should be, when we do get back, we should focus, is the opportunity to focus on it and basically try and catch up and lost time.
In fact, we can be starting now, I guess, can't we? While we're at home, or we've got that time.
You're giving us homework.
I mean, you know, I would like to see some of the others take it on board, the senior grades, and I'm not, you know, and push it forward as well, because if more people are saying it, then it'll probably work, you know, rather than just me just trying to push it all the time. You know, when I do my classes, people will say at summer school or winter school, "Oh, you're doing weapons." You know, I would like to see someone else do it as well. You know, in their classes. So
he's pushing an open door.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, well, we'll wrap it up in that case. And again, thank you, Eddie. Thanks for giving up your evening. And thank you to everyone else that's attended as well. It's been a fabulous attendance this evening. We've still got another 4 of these, I think, lined up for the Thursdays. We may bring them forward to 8 p.m. We'll just keep an eye on it, see if the Clap for Carers thing does stop. Because I think all the press was saying tonight might be the last time.
They said tonight was the last.
Okay, well, in that case, we'll probably try and bring this forward to be an 8 p.m. start. So keep an eye on the UK Facebook page. I think we've got to say about another 4 of these planned over June. So a few different topics as well. If there's any topics anybody wants to put forward, then also let us know as well. Just get in touch on the Facebook page and we'll do that too. So again, thanks everybody for attending. Eddie, really appreciate you giving up your time to do this. And I think we've all got to go home now and learn our 5 postures, our 7 saburi, shirogiri, hapogiri, and then the chibas at 8 saburi. And that's for next week.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks again, everyone.
And that's for the Balkans.
Oh yeah, it's just the Balkan. Oh my word. All right. Thanks again, everyone.
Thanks, Eddie. Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Bye.